Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about a load of movie trailers and Disney Plus originals that have dropped this week, including Loki. We also got High School Musical Series 2. We had Black Widow, Cruella. We'll be talking about all of that. We're talking about potentially the idea of Disney maybe changing around their routine for how they release content. And we've got loads of reviews today because we've got a couple of episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier that we want to talk about. Mighty Ducks. We're talking about some of the Star originals. I'll also be talking about Earth Moods as well. But before we jump into any of that, just a few bits of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. And also you can find us on audio platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, etc. Also, you can find us over on Facebook and Twitter, and we do have a Facebook group as well, which you can join in. And we also would just like to say a huge hello to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members who help support the podcast. If you're of a certain tier, you now get a shout out. So first off, to the executive producer platinum level, to Sarah, thank you for all of your support. And then also on Patreon to Andrew, Jacob, Khalid, Red Mars Man, Andrew, Cody, Darren, the Juicer, Lester, Lauren, James, and What's on Netflix. Well, over on YouTube, a big hello to My VCR Still Works, well, mine doesn't. David, Beanie, Bad Dog Gamer, Joshua, Amit, Ben, Adam, Drew, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. Thank you for all of your support. They get access to certain content early, including our weekly classic movie reviews. And they also get to ask questions for the weekly Q&A. So that'll be live tomorrow night, 8 o'clock UK time. Our link will be going up pretty soon for that one. So there we go. So that is all of kind of the housekeeping. Let's jump into it. Let's obviously start with the big one. James, what did you think of that Loki trailer?
It was an interesting trailer. I felt like we learned a little bit more than we did from the first trailer. Got to see a bit more of Owen Wilson's character, which was a bit of a mystery before this. Honestly, though, if I wasn't already interested in Loki, I don't think this trailer would have changed my mind on that one.
Yeah, very much playing on, because I literally watched it again to remind myself just before we went live, and it's very much playing on the idea that you know who Loki is and you know his history. And I think we're at a point now where the MCU is big enough where Loki's been in enough movies that we do know who he is. So I don't think they're trying necessarily to appeal to new people. They know they've got their audience, and this feels like it's playing completely into that, referencing the event in Endgame. I mean, you know, it was the biggest movie of all time for a while, and it does play into that. I mean, the whole thing of, you know, can we trust him? Can we not? And we know he's maybe not, possibly. So there's all of that to go with it, but it's definitely an interesting trailer. I'm really excited about this series, you know, dropping June 11th on Disney Plus, and that then 6 episodes will see us right through till August. It was a bit grainy, a little bit fuzzy, a little bit foggy sometimes. You know, they've got like a clear visual way that they're filming this one. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I don't want to watch any more trailers now. That's the thing. This will be the last one I do watch for that reason. Because it's just, I don't want to be spoiled anymore. I think, you know, we know a little bit more about Owen Wilson, and obviously he's trying to manipulate Loki to helping him, but Loki will probably be, we know he's one, and he already says he's 1 step or 10 steps ahead of them, but I think he's probably more closer to 15.
You could really go either way with that, because he could be claiming to be 10 steps just to be in their head when he's really only 3 steps ahead, or he might even be steps behind and just making it up as he goes along. That's kind of the point of Loki. He's supposed to be mischief. You don't really know what you can get. That said, I also will not be watching any further trailers, no matter how short or long they are. This is going in the same category as WandaVision is for me. You know, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is obviously very straightforward. There's a couple mysteries going on in there, but it's very straightforward. Whereas WandaVision was very much each week, you're like, what weird stuff is going to happen? And I think Loki is going to be in that same like category for different reasons. I don't think it's going to be completely enshrouded in mystery and like what the heck is going on, but a lot of plans within plans within plans and making up new plans on the spot. So there'll be a lot of potential spoilers in this that we don't really want to know about.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels kind of like, you know, we're now talking about Loki. I mean, we've done WandaVision. We're now like 2/3 of the way through Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's just like, we went a year with nothing, and now we are literally just like on a buffet. It's just and I'm like, okay, I am actually going to be glad that we've got that May break of Marvel just to give us a little bit of to get ready. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Loki. We also got some other trailers this week. So we got High School Musical, the musical series season 2, which will be returning on May the 14th. I secretly liked the first season. I didn't go into the first season.
That's secret.
And now, well, okay, it's kind of one of those things of it's a series I wasn't expecting to like, and I ended up kind of liking. And I'm in on the second season now. I'm all in. Watching it is very fun, very humorous. Like, they've kind of now got. It looks like it's kind of going into more of like the traditional storytelling thing of they've now got enemies. They've kind of got a rival group that they're going to be going up against because they're going to be doing Beauty and the Beast rather than High School Musical 2. Which is kind of I kind of quite like the idea that because this is one of those weird things with this series of like people are going in. I think people expect it to be a certain way because of the name, and it really is. They could have called it something completely different, and I don't know if that would I might have helped it. But I think this is a great extension of the brand, and very different. If you haven't seen the first season, it's on Disney Plus now. It is. I think it's one of the better Disney Plus originals, and I'm really excited about the second season. What about you?
I have not finished the first season, but it's more because it fell off for me because we had so many series right when it launched, when Disney Plus launched, that several of them that I actually really did enjoy kind of fell off, and I never went back to them. This is one I could see going back to, but I'm not in a super hurry to do so.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The trailer for season 2 looked pretty good. They definitely had the whole we're going to escalate the stakes. We're going to amp it up, and now we've got this other school doing The Little Mermaid, and we're doing Beauty and the Beast. I would not write off them doing some stuff from High School Musical 2. I don't think they would have brought it up if they weren't going to still do something with it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. My question was Kristen Chenoweth in the first season as well, or was that new?
Who?
She was kind of their dancing instructor person in the trailer. Like she was the one, like she threw the ball at the one kid and was like, no, react in character. I think that was Kristen Chenoweth.
I don't know. There was you had that the drama school teacher. You did have the drama school teacher. I mean, the only one is Derek Hugh. He's the newest character that's been brought in on this one, but not sure. I definitely can't remember that bit. I remember them throwing the ball, but I don't remember who did it. But I do think this is going to be a great series. We're going to be a bit spoiled, I think, when we hit like May, because we're going to be getting, High School Musical the series, Big Shot, and Mighty Ducks Game Changers. We're going to be getting 3, and we'll have Bad Batch as well. So we're going to be having 4 series. I mean, there's quite a lot of. I mean, actually, 3 of them at once. There's quite a lot of high school stuff, but it's it's a target audience. We are going back. We're going back to Disney Plus launch zone of like multiple shows to watch.
Yeah, but if these shows had just launched on the Disney Channel, we wouldn't. It'd be unremarkable in that they've got so many teenager shows going at the same time. It's like, this is the audience. These are the shows that would be coming in probably at like the 4 or 5 o'clock weekday time slot when kids are coming home from school, depending on what time they come from school in your area. But yeah, it's not just a throwback to Disney Plus launch when we were overwhelmed with titles, but it does feel like these are things that would have maybe been on Disney Channel.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to kind of shift a little bit, because we'll do the movie trailer reviews, but kind of we're on that topic. So there was a thing went around on the internet this week from YouTuber Grace Randolph, who said that people are being given polls and surveys about shifting days around of releases for Disney Plus. Now, I haven't seen anything of this yet myself, so but I can imagine these kind of surveys going out to kind of see, because I think with Disney dropping everything on one day, it has advantages because that on Friday you've got all this content, but at the same time, it's very easy for something to overshadow something else. And with so many different series arriving, you can't help but feel like, could Disney Plus benefit from spreading out some of its content? is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier overshadowing the Mighty Ducks episodes because they're arriving on the same day? Had maybe that arrived on a Wednesday or a Monday or something like that, would that help spread it out a little bit? There's also, I think, do they put the classic stuff on? The classic stuff maybe is a bit different on different days. Do they spread it out a bit? They are going to be doing some experiments this summer because the Gordon Ramsay Uncharted third season is going to be debuting on National Geographic in the US on like a Sunday night, I think it is. And then the following day, they're going to be arriving on Disney Plus on the Monday. So they're already starting to. This is why I was like, okay, no, we're already in the zone of them trying something different, following what they do with Hulu. So I think that's a good idea. But for us over here, like we're in Star territory, it's actually, I think it's actually could be a very good idea for them to shift maybe the Star content onto a different day, because I'm not kidding. We are getting probably close to nearly 9 to 10 new episodes of new shows a week. I mean, I can't believe where I can say that now, when we consider where we were this time last year. But when you're getting that many new episodes dropping of that many seasons, it's very easy for stuff to slip away, maybe things not to get the attention that they maybe deserve. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're doing this anytime soon. And I think in some ways it actually makes now the Friday drop so much bigger, because, I know when I'm going through the lists, I'm telling you like, oh, there's basically 10 to 15 things arriving today. It looks so much more impressive. It looks much more impactful of going, oh yeah, you have the drop every week, but here it is. It's not just, a Pixar in real life short and some random movie. So, it is now really kind of looking like a proper list. We're getting a full update, multiple seasons, we're getting legacy content, all the rest of it. I don't know. What do you think about sort of spreading things out a little bit?
I'd be for it. I think that it would help them to split these up a bit. Wouldn't necessarily draw too hard a line in the sand on it, but I'd say something like legacy content Tuesday, Wednesday. That way there's an opportunity to watch those if you want. The major releases should probably stay on Friday, when Falcon and Winter Soldier, Star Wars stuff. But yeah, get Big Shot and Mighty Ducks out of the way of each other, because they're probably you're probably going to watch one or the other. But if they're coming on different days of the week, then you're more likely to give a shot. Because again, it goes back to the way we used to watch television. This show was on this day, this show was on that day, and it made it a bit more defined. That said, if they don't, not too big a deal.
No, I mean, I think it's a very interesting thing of what they're doing. If I'm not sure if they would do it in the US fully yet. Internationally, they might be getting feedback and watching what's going on of like our shows getting lost in the shuffle. I know for myself, there's certain shows like Next and Hellstrom that I watch days later, because it's just like matters of time. You can't. I mean, I'm lucky in fortunate that most of the Star originals I can watch a little bit in advance to do the reviews, so I'm not getting that whole feeling on a Friday where I've got all these different shows to watch. I've already watched them during the week, so I've already kind of got that, where I've kept everything. So I can attest to the idea of if you spread them out, it's a lot easier for me, because I will tend to watch one a week all week building up to it, so I can spread it all out, which I can see how that works. But it's definitely, I think it just, the thing is now is it just makes Disney Plus look so much stronger when going up against competition. When people are going, oh, what's new this week? Well, here's your list. That, and like I think last week, Disney had to use 3 different panels of their social media posts to show you what was new this week. There was days where they didn't even need to have enough for the first line. It's like, that's a big difference.
The only thing dropping this week is the entire season of Big Fib. I mean, that was, I think, one of the actual things. And now, you've got we've got the Marvel content, you've got the original content, you got the legacy content, and if you're not in America, basically, you get all the Star content as well.
I mean, there is a lot of people as well, like jumping in and going about the times. And the trouble is with times is most people have kind of, whenever anyone talks about the times that they want stuff to drop, it's very much like what's convenient for them. That it's like, well, I would like it at 6 o'clock at this time. Why? Well, because that's when I'm free. It's like the problem I think Disney have got is they actually do need to drop the stuff in the middle of the night to help the service, because I don't think they could drop stuff 6-7 o'clock at night and when all America is awake. And I think that's a technical issue. I think dropping it in the middle of the night severely restricts the impact. I mean, we've already seen it with what was happening with WandaVision and Falcon, not where they've had to make changes to how they did stuff to try and stop that drop. I mean, even Falcon and the Winter Soldier yesterday dropped 10 minutes earlier than everything else. The normal update at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock Eastern, midnight, 10 minutes before Falcon dropped. They are starting to do that, where they're actually starting to drop that episode a little bit early to get some people in and off that particular time. So I do think there's that. And also it is a stream, they've got the whole world to please. So there's always going to be somebody upset. But that way, I think in the US, they keep them like half their audience on that day, because the Hotstar stuff is on different servers and all the rest of it. So it's being done differently. But I do think the time they're dropping it is being done for a technical reason, rather than from the idea of, it's just not a convenient time.
And there's no real right answer for this either. And in fact, it's all nothing but wrong answers when you're looking at it from their perspective. Do you drop it globally at the same time and that means for some people it's dropping right in the middle of the workday, and other people it's dropping at 3 o'clock in the morning, and do you layer it? It's I mean,
for us, it arrives at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is not an ideal time. I mean, for me it's good because I'm up with anyway, so I can, it's a good time for me because I've got into that routine. But also, most of the UK, people are already on the way to school, they are going to work, so they have to wait until the end of the day. So it's not ideal. It was kind of quite fun with the time change for a few weeks, where it was dropping at 7 o'clock in the morning. I know there was a few people like, oh, this is I can watch this before I go to work. So there's never a good time. I mean, in Australia get it pretty good. I think about 7 o'clock at night. But again, it's the number of people logging in at that point can handle it. But so just to take that into account, again, it's nothing has been confirmed. I think it's all still like speculation at that point. We also got 2 other trailers this week, and also now the live pages are up on Disney Plus for Black Widow and Cruella for their premiere access. So Cruella, coming on May the 28th. I watched the trailer and I kind of did get to the end going, okay, we saw a little bit more of Emma Thompson's character, but generally, I wouldn't say I'm still kind of lukewarm on it. It looks okay. It'd be interesting to see where it goes, and I'm convinced that it is going to be fun to watch. Whether or not people are going to want to pay premiere access for it, but that's your choice. You can go to the cinema if you're vaccinated, and you have that choice, which is, I think there'll be more people doing it. I know here in the UK, our cinemas, I think, are due to open if the rollback happens on May the 17th. So Cruella kind of is landing just literally the week after our cinemas open. So that's not a bad thing. So you have that choice if you want to. But did you catch that Cruella trailer?
I did watch the trailer. The first half actually had me a little bit interested because it was less focused on Cruella herself. It was a little more on the situation at hand and what was leading into it. It was more of a proper prequel style thing. And then the second half, we again dropped into Harley Quinn territory. And I was just kind of like, I'm not really interested in Harley Quinn. I'm not even interested in the current version, I should specify, of Harley Quinn in the DC EU. And I'm just like, whatever. I get that she's exceptionally popular right now, so I can understand why they would want to draw on that influence. But at the same time,
well, actually, the thing is, I kind of look at it. Harley Quinn was very popular a couple of years ago. I don't necessarily think the Black, was it Birds of Prey, did kind of, and so it's kind of one of those things of when they made. I mean, they might. It's Harley, she does look like she's just gone completely, and in some ways, kind of makes her look like it's like, well, you have got established who she is already, so you've kind of what she's going to turn into, so therefore you can't adjust her too much. But she did seem a bit weird.
Yeah, it's not even what she's going to turn into. I do appreciate that they're just kind of like, no, she's just evil. It does seem like they're going to go with, well, she wasn't really evil, but she got pushed really hard and now she's truly evil. But I
Yeah, I
mean, her
mean,
name's Cruella, and what she wants to do is skin dogs and turn them into coats. You don't really get much nuance in that. There's not much
yeah.
gray area.
And all I'd like to say is I'm really looking forward to that eventual crossover where it's Cruella and John Wick. That's I think a movie waiting to happen.
I honestly, I'd probably watch that. That even if it was like just 10 minutes long, just John Wick hunting down Cruella, I would watch that.
I saw this meme the other day of like Thanos, and he clicked he clicked the fingers, and John Wick's dog died, and then suddenly Thanos is going, no.
I think that's been a meme since Infinity War first came out. But
I saw it the other day, and I
works.
was like, it works. We also got a new trailer for Black Widow. Again, just these were both kind of like the Disney Plus Premier Access trailers, because kind of confirming it in the trailers that they're coming. That's coming on July the 9th. Watch it, just more Black Widow, more Taskmaster. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's kind of weird. It'll be interesting to see kind of going back into a Marvel movie, because having had all these series lately, it'll be kind of fun to see how this all works. I think they have made the right decision in terms of how they've pushed it back a little bit enough, so much more of the US is vaccinated, much more of Europe will be vaccinated. They've got a better, I think I read somewhere that they've got like, essentially they are estimating that they could have 3 times more money by just pushing it back 3 months, because of how many more people are going to be willing to go. There's that last drop made a lot more financial sense for them to do.
Yeah, because if you do it in the middle of May, even if people are vaccinated, they might not be fully vaccinated yet, because you need to have the second shot in many cases, and you need to have that 2-week or 3-week period after even the second shot before you're fully in. You get to June, you get to July, people are much more likely to have gone through all of that. And this could actually end up being the movie that kickstarts people back into theaters in the first place. There will be some big budget movies coming out before it, but I think Black Widow is the one where people can go, no, I want to go back to the theaters. Now, I'm still planning on just watching it at home, no matter what the situation is, but I think that they're right. I think more people will be willing to go to the theaters at this later point, and it'll probably do pretty well in the theaters. I think it's still not going to hit the projections of what it would have done if it had released last year without COVID getting in the way, but it'll do better.
Yeah, I mean, my plan is I'm going to go with Premier Access, because I know that I can watch it at least twice. And I will watch it. I'll probably watch it 3 times. My parents will probably end up watching it as well. So I feel, and it's just like, Black Widow. I'm going to be honest. Cruella is one of those things of, if I probably wasn't doing, the podcast and the website, I don't think I would do it. And I'll be just, it's like, I want to see that movie, but I'd probably wait. Whereas with Black Widow, I'm in. I'd be in. I would be seeing that movie regardless of doing anything else. So I just feel like that way with that one.
Yeah, I think Cruella, I'd either wait for it to come on to Disney Plus proper, just on the regular subscription service, or even if it goes through the proper release theater, the run gets digital. If I could find it for a rental, a digital rental on like Amazon or Google for $10, I'd probably do that. But yeah, especially since same old nugget. I live alone. $30 for a movie I'm probably only going to watch once. That's not worth it.
Well, I'm a bit like that personally right now with Kong versus Godzilla, because it's available like here on like Sky Cinema. It's like £16-17, and the same thing with Wonder Woman, and it's a little bit like, I do want to see it, but is it worth 17 quid? That's a lot. I mean, I think if it was like $9.90, but usually a rental, I'm looking at, I'll be honest, sometimes I have been that thing of going, it's a £1 cheaper to have it in SD rather than HD. I will go for the SD, especially if it's not a big, if it's not a blockbuster, it's like, well, I'm not really going to tell the difference.
Why do I need HD for this rom-com or whatever? That they don't really need it. I will say, Kong, Godzilla versus Kong, I really enjoyed it. I would not have paid a Premier Access price for it and been happy, but I already have HBO Max, so it.
Well, Yeah, I mean, got that movie has done fantastic for the box office. I mean, they've kind of, they can't quite believe that movie was the one that's got everyone back. Well, not got everyone back, but it's the best movie that's brought in a load of money. And it's kind of weird that it's done that, and it's been on at HBO Max. So they've been able to kind of have, and the best of both worlds. Warner Brothers have confirmed that all of their movies from 2022 are going back exclusively to cinemas for a limited period. So this whole HBO Max thing is very much a band-aid. It's not a permanent solution. Whenever anyone throws that at Disney Plus shade of going, well, HBO Max is doing this. Yeah, but they had to launch it and they didn't have any like content. I mean, there's not really a lot of HBO Max exclusive content. They kind of had their content got messed up with COVID just as much as Disney's did.
I suspect that HBO Max was planning on this being a permanent thing, a day and date combo to keep people on HBO Max, but they just got too much pushback from the theaters. Understandably, the theaters would be very mad in this situation. They're mad at Disney even with them charging extra. We had the whole Cinemark boycotting Raya thing, and I suspect that if not in the current form, they had something planned, and now it's not.
I still think that once all this is over and next year, we will be looking at probably much shorter times for movies to arrive onto, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, HBO. I think we're going to be looking at months rather than the 6-9 months that we had before COVID. But definitely interesting move on from there. It's been a kind of bit of an odd week for news, so there's not really anything major. But let's now go into some of the reviews, because we kind of, unfortunately, last week we did talk about Mighty Ducks and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but the audio was so bad I couldn't really put it up. So I had to do a little bit of editing and put that one together. So we're going to kind of do a double thing where we talk about that one. But before we get into that one, I just want to do a brief talk about Earth Moods, which will be arriving on Disney Plus on March the 16th. Usually the embargoes kind of run on a Monday, but it's weird today. It runs out on a Saturday. So I can talk about this one. You got 5 episodes where you see some beautiful scenery of some amazing places on planet Earth, glaciers, forests, deserts, cities as well, flying over cities with amazing drone shots with very chilled out music. Very beautiful, very well made. I think there might be some more of this one. It's kind of weird. It's the kind of content that that I would say is very popular on YouTube. This is very niche. You don't sit there and want, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to get, there's no story. It is just about relaxing. And this is the kind of content you maybe put on before you're trying to go to sleep, or you're just trying to relax. Maybe you're doing some yoga. Maybe you just want some background on while you've got friends over, at some point. Because I know we had all that with the Christmas. I remember putting up the Christmas Yule log on Christmas Day on our television, and everyone kind of going, "Why have you got a fire on?" It's like, oh, it's like, that's cool. Everyone just got an Olaf running in, and then suddenly, I set up like in the afternoon on this fish tank, and everyone's kind of, and then it's jumping every time Nemo comes on. So I think this is great. This is the kind of stuff that I would put on like while I'm editing videos or maybe writing a review, and I just want some noise in the background but I don't want singing because that can distract. I kind of definitely feel like I put on instrumental music when I'm doing editing, so I'm actually getting into that zone of using this kind of content for what I want. So I completely get it. It's not for everyone. Some people might say I don't think it's cheap because it looks beautiful. And they've obviously spent some money doing it, but it's very niche. And I really, really, I think this is great. I think this is good stuff.
So I haven't seen it. Obviously, I'll be catching it at the normal time like everybody else. But I really do enjoy these ambient moods, ambient sound kind of things. They're fun to put up on the second screen. So you're working on your main screen, and then up on the second screen, you just have something chill going on. Especially these days with COVID, when you don't, we're getting into spring and summer, so people are getting out more now. But during winter, you're stuck inside. It's nice having that little view into the outside world. But like you said, it's not the kind of thing, it's Friday night, it's family movie night. You're not going to get all the popcorn ready and grab your soda and be like, all right, we're watching flyovers of the Himalayas tonight. That's not what this is for. I'm curious though, having not seen it, what's the runtime on each of the episodes, give or take?
about 30 minutes a piece.
Okay, that's decent.
Yeah, that was a lot longer than I was expecting because I thought, oh, we're gonna get like 5 minutes. I'm really hoping they do a version where they edit all 5 of them together to kind of get like a 2-3 hour version, so you can just leave it on. But generally, yeah, it's they're a lot longer than I thought, and there was that kind of feeling of going. This reminded me of Saw It a few times of just going. If I sit there at the end of the thing with my feet just dangling, and there's the wind blowing.
I mean, that's a perfect example, though.
Yeah.
Soarin' is one of the most boring rides at the park. It just
Yeah.
In its design, you are just hanging there and you're watching a movie while hanging there, and yet the wait time on it is it's I love that ride, but it's the wait time is almost always an hour plus, even during the slow. Well, there's no slow season anymore, but the slower season. I've seen it get up to like 200 minutes before. It's crazy how popular it is, and it is literally just you hanging there and flying around the world. And they blast air in your face. It smells like oranges and seawater and stuff. I love the ride, but yeah, when you actually sit down, you're like, so what do we do? Now you just sit there.
Well, it's funny because we went when we were at Shanghai Disney like 18 months ago, and normally the queue, like you say, is like 2-3 hours. We got in the park, it was a drizzly, wet day, and the queue time was like 5 minutes. And we got in the park, and I ran through this brand new theme park to get to Soaring. I was going, what are we doing? What? We've been on Soaring. Why are we in a rush? I'm like, because if we don't get on this one now, we might never do it. Because you're not going to wait if we get up to those. I mean, luckily that day the queues never got. The second day, it was up in the hours, and it's like, well, we never would have done it. We just wouldn't have done that, because it was like, well, we've done it in. But yeah, so yeah, kind of gave me that reminder of like of that attraction.
Soaring, yeah. Now I want to go ride Soaring.
Yes, yeah. And to be honest, they've just announced all the dates for this like Disney cruise in August, like from a city near me, and I'm like, a 2-day Disney. And my wife's going, oh no, and I'm like, oh, I need a Disney fix. I've gone 2 years without like I need and we were supposed to go on that ship last winter in the Caribbean. Not quite the same, going around the English Channel, but I'm a bit like, ooh, could do it. So I'm gonna be keeping my eyes out. Depends on the price, but
I was in Disneyland in January last year, so I got a little bit in 2020, but it's been more than a year now, and I'm talking with my friend about going at Christmas. So we'll see how the state of things are.
We got back from China like in December, just before all this kind of came off. So, so then let's talk now about some of the Star originals. I want to just jump into, give a little bit of what. So we've had Big Sky. We've had the first half of the first season is now finished, 9 episodes. I'm really hoping that we're going to get episode 10 next week, about a couple of days after the US. Nothing has been confirmed, but also nothing's been said that it wouldn't. I mean, you essentially would assume we've caught up with the US. I've been loving that series. Really, really can't stress that one enough. It was, two police officers, or not even 2 detectives, chasing down 2 guys that's been kidnapping sort of prostitutes, and then they end up picking up the wrong girls because Ronald gets annoyed by the 2 girls, and then the kind of what goes on from there, like the police chasing, and the finale was a really good finale. Lots of a real shocking end, not dissimilar to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it was in terms of the ending, but it generally as a whole, really loved that series. My wife constantly is asking me when new episodes are dropping, because we have had like previews a little bit in advance. So my wife just every day, is there any more Big Sky? It's just like, which is great. I mean, that's something that we don't normally have. So I've been really enjoying that one. Love Victor. We got the penultimate episode of this past week. Really enjoying that series. It got a little bit in the middle, got a little bit out of it, but generally really, really liked that whole series. I'm looking forward to the finale next week. It's kind of that kind of situation now of just, I see why in some ways they might have felt, but I still think Disney they chicken out, and I'm always gonna bring this up. As like, having watched Love Victor and having seen other Disney Plus originals, I'm sorry, but if this is like nah, they chickened out when this one should have come on last year. No confirmation yet of when the second season. I'm expecting it will start dropping on in June when it does in the US. So that one's good. Hellstrom, I'm a little bit behind. I'm a few weeks behind on Hellstrom. Me and my wife are slowly working on. It was kind of like the non-urgent show of like when you finished everything else on the box and you've watched lists done, then we go to Hellstrom. It's the kind of, not necessarily that's bad, but it's not. I think because I know it's cancelled, it's not high on my, watch list. It's like we'll get there eventually.
Was it canceled or was it just not renewed?
Well, it was not renewed because obviously it was the last of the live action Marvel series that I think they'd already started production and spent money on it. And I mean, we've still got like MODOK, but I think MODOK and Hit Monkey, but they're kind of technically different.
Those are very different.
Very different. I'm looking forward to MODOK actually, but
that looks bonkers.
Yeah, but
in a good way.
Yeah, but it's far enough away. It's an animated series. It's away from the MCU. Hellstrom, I'm really enjoying it. If you didn't tell me, I did the trick where I didn't mention it was Marvel until and my wife had said, "Oh, we'll put it on, see what it's like." And then she's like, and she goes, "Oh, it's another Marvel one." I said, "You like Lucifer, so that's DC. So you watch Constantine of your own choice, and that's DC. So you do like these." So I can see like she'll watch it because that kind of element she enjoys. She enjoys all like the vampire and werewolf shows and stuff that are on. So this one kind of, and that's all right. Next as well as another series that I'm enjoying. Just very weird seeing all this like tech of all. I'm sitting there watching and going, why did this get cancelled? This really feels like this is I'm enjoying it. I'm like, okay, I know it has been cancelled, and I'm probably know I'm going to be disappointed because I don't get an ending to it. But it's fun, especially right now where we still can't really go out much. I haven't been following up with Dollface. I kind of didn't really like that one too much. So I kind of haven't really been watching any more of them. A new Star original dropped this week, which was Filthy Rich. Again, another TV show that got cancelled like after the second episode. This was set in kind of in the South where they have this family that run a Christian TV channel, and they're all kind of like saintly and just after donations from everybody, when secretly the guy running it is he kind of supposed to have died in an air crash while with a number of other women on the plane and having a kind of complete, and kind of watch, and I just really found it hard to watch. It felt a bit stereotypical. It's like it wasn't comfortable watching. You just kind of got to the end and going, I didn't like Kim, who from like Sex and the City in this one. The character just felt odd. So it's not I'm not going to be returning for any more episodes of this one. This is again, it's been cancelled. I'm not wasting any more of my time. I'd say to everyone, check the episode out if you've got it. I'm in the UK and see what it's like. But I am a little bit like with Disney Plus right now, going, right, you've given us Filthy Rich, Next, and Hellstrom, all of which have been cancelled. Nearly a third of the Star originals so far are just cancelled shows that have not been sold anywhere else. So that's been good. So I've been enjoying those. Out in Australia, they've been getting new episodes of Grey's Anatomy, Station 19, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers. They get new episodes every week, and Grownish as well. So I've watched Station 19 and Grey's Anatomy this week. Grey's Anatomy is full on like going into, they've completely embraced the whole COVID situation. They are doing the story. They are, I mean, it's kind of weird watching it. And my wife turned to me and goes, "Oh, are they going to do this?" Like I said, this is the whole season. I said in one way, maybe they were able to film the entire series because they all had, everyone had to have PPE on. It meant they could actually film it. So, and it doesn't look out of place. It's that kind of one situation of, you can see that in, all the they can do all the rules and they can follow everybody and have everyone together because they actually can use the PPE on set. They've got everybody in, masks, and, they've got, their own air and all the way. It's like, wow, they actually can. This is probably the only show they probably could have filmed at that period. And it's kind of interesting if like, it set the story in a different zone. And even in Station 19, they've got the masks on, and they're driving by in their truck and people are clapping and stuff. And I am kind of glad that they've gone into it, because I feel like with Good Doctor, which isn't on Disney Plus, because it's a Sony run TV, but it's on ABC in the US. They only did like a couple of episodes on it and then kind of went back to normal, and it feels odd. It's like life's not, my wife works in a hospital. That's not what's happening. It wasn't like, well, we did 2 weeks of it, we've told the story, now we're just getting back to normal. It's like, no, that's not how. I know like people will be wanting to go back, but I don't know if hospitals will ever go back to the way it was before. I think PPE will be around, and just how. But I'm really enjoying those series as well, because again, there's just so much content dropping. I'm trying to think what other Star and Solar Opposites season 2 started as well. I'm really enjoying that animated series. That's definitely something. It's a bit of I kind of watch, and it's so cruel. And then like, I feel like I'm a student again. Because I kind of fell out with all these animated TV series, and I'm really like, this is just like, it's wrong. And I feel wrong watching it on Disney Plus as well. It doesn't feel right. It's still in that zone. I go, wow, they're really swearing, and there's blood, and there's like in jokes are going like this week, this big sci-fi battle, and they're going, look, somebody phone up Hulu, we need some more money. Next thing, the clip goes, the thing's all over. They go, did you see that battle? They go, yeah, they did get the money.
Oh. I haven't seen that show at all, but that was the one you said is kind of Rick and Morty crossed with like what, Futurama or South Park or something.
Yeah. I'm again, it's so nice having this range of shows just dropping and move, and you think of all those times of like talking about what we wanted from Disney, and the addition of Star has turned Disney Plus into that for us, where it's now it's a full streaming service. Me and my wife now fire up Disney Plus to watch stuff together. We started watching was it Quantano? There was a new series that dropped every week. Quantico, that's it, yeah. We hadn't seen that one before. So there's, and like my wife, we watched was it Fright Night the other day. We've had like this vampire movie, and with the guy from Star Trek, and it had it was Colin Farrell as this vampire, and it's like that was my wife just went in and started up the movie. She's going in there, and I think she's watching Scream Queens as well. And she's starting to say now, oh, fire up Disney Plus, let's see what's on. She never did that. We never did that until Star arrived. And that's what I'm loving. I'm loving the fact that the two of us now can sit there and watch content in the evening together. Because up till then, Disney Plus was my app. That's like the WWE app. She never goes in there. It was just, and it's just nice now that she goes in there of her own accord, and that she starts, even if she had a profile, she never used it. She never was there. But now we are watching content on Star, and it's just great having this extra content from Disney Plus.
And this is the audience that they were hoping to reach too.
Yeah,
because there's plenty of adults who are perfectly happy getting nothing but Disney content. Even if you're including Marvel and Star Wars in that.
Yeah,
they want Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all the stuff that comes along with that. But there are a lot of adults out there who are just like, no, I'd rather be watching Grey's Anatomy or whatever.
Yeah, we're going to be getting Rebel at the end of May. They announced that yesterday. Unfortunately, I think with the news of Prince Philip, then like the social media teams all like shut down for the rest of the day. But yeah, so they confirmed that Rebel is coming on the end of May, which is another series I'm looking forward to. It just started on ABC in the US. Again, that's a show that me and my wife can watch. And it's just it's amazing the difference of when I'm saying to people, like, if I can sit there and say, how much Disney Plus are you watching this week? Star is, I would say it's probably quadrupled the amount of time that we're spending watching Disney. I mean, it's just, it has made such a big difference. And it's so annoying in some ways of going, of like how much better Disney Plus would have been for the US had you got Star. And I'm sure they're going to see this in the numbers. And when they start promoting it, and I know they've got to push Hulu and all the rest of it, but internationally, I think this is fantastic. I think this is really making a massive difference. I know just in fact, I can say to my parents, like, watch this, or my wife is telling people, oh, you'll find that on Disney, and you're having talks with friends about shows, and you're not talking about Mandalorian, and these are like other shows, which is just good.
Yeah, the standard water cooler shows that if we had normal offices at the moment, you would be talking about with your coworkers while gathered in the kitchen area or whatever.
So let's now talk about the Disney Plus originals. So let's talk, well, first off, Mighty Ducks. So we're going to talk about episodes 2 and 3 because we didn't you didn't hear last week's. I'll be honest, I watched these about a few weeks ago. So I've past season episode 3, I haven't seen. So it was all a little bit of a blur because I watched all 3 of them back to back. So it was a bit like, where did it end? So now I don't have to worry because now it doesn't matter. But what did you think of Mighty Ducks this week and last week?
So I'll start with episode 2.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan of episode 2. I recognize that it was a necessary episode for us to have because you needed to establish the status of the team. You needed to have them go up against another team and just absolutely get destroyed by them. But episode 3 was much better because it really got to dig into the themes of the series. We got to see actual emotion on the core plot points, and the team is starting to become a team in episode 3.
Yeah, I definitely kind of it felt like when you put the 3 of them together, it told a story much better than the weekly drop. I think episode 2 the thing is for me, especially episode 2, was the thing of I really felt like the mum was being so unsafe and being risking these kids' health for the sake of her own child's vanity project of, they couldn't even stand up without, and then you're putting them in there against a team, and they go, this just isn't safe. This, you shouldn't, there was, you can't, and there's that thing of, I know they got really excited because they scored a goal.
Well, that was and that was in the 3rd episode.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think we'll blend them all in.
Yeah, we'll blend it all together. But it's important to note they got destroyed in the 2nd episode.
Yeah, and of course in the 2nd episode they have that whole thing of they get up and try again, and that's what's so important. And the whole thing of going, losing isn't fun, and there's a losing isn't fun, but you've got to it's like, did you have fun while you were playing is the important thing. Losing, but they got destroyed to the point where it's like that you wouldn't. If you had a few weeks of that, you're going to end up just going like, this isn't fun. I'm not enjoying it. And no matter how much fun you're having during the week, you might be like, nah. So they obviously come back, and you see it with that 3rd episode where they score a goal, and it's a win. They have taken that as a pure win, and then like Mighty Ducks are kind of looking at them going, they completely lost, and they're celebrating one goal, and they're being real assy about it. They're being just nasty, and you can see that obviously they've been setting up this storyline of the girl jumping over because she doesn't like it. And I don't know, for me it was just like, I don't think kids would act like that. It just felt a little bit off.
It did feel a little bit off. They did kind of have to have that moment, and they needed to hammer home the point of the No Hopes, whatever the team name is.
Don't bother.
Don't bother. That's right. It doesn't matter. That's the same thing anyway. The Don't Bothers are there to have fun, and they support each other because the way they scored the goal was a team effort. Now, it wouldn't have worked in real hockey, but this is the Mighty Ducks. That doesn't matter. And then, of course, the coach for the Mighty Ducks in this was just like, how did you let them score a goal? How can you stand there with pride when you let these guys score a goal on you? And you get that, the compare and contrast between them, which is important. Now, obviously, they are hamming it up quite a bit for the Ducks. But you need that villain. This is ultimately a kid's show. So the villain is going to be a little bit more obviously villainous, and the heroes are going to be a little more obviously heroic. But
there's the kind of thing of, I'm going to be even like, we're now like, we've seen like a third, essentially nearly about a third of the show. And I'm going to say this, I don't think the Ducks should win. I don't want them getting to that 10th episode and winning and beating the Ducks in the final and winning the con, because it's like, no, I'm sorry, but you can't start at the beginning where you can't even hit a ball or hit whatever, a puck, and then win the championship, because you'd have lost every single. I mean, they probably have that thing of they get one win in the whole league or something. I'm guessing that's how they'll go. They're going to be bottom, but if they get one victory or something like that, it's a win. I like it, but it's a kind of thing of, I think a movie probably would have been enough for me. And I'm thinking like a 5-hour movie is quite a lot for this. If you think of all the episodes, 10, 30-minute episodes. That's a 4 to 5 hour movie. There's a lot to tell in that amount of time. It's essentially the Mighty Ducks trilogy.
It pretty much is, and they're gonna have to vary up the story. It can't just be we lost really badly, but we didn't lose as badly as last time for 10 episodes. There has to be actual story. There's obviously going to be drama of some point. The team is going to have that breaking apart and then coming back together moment. Not sure what that's going to be yet. They haven't shown any obvious like dark secrets like there were in the movies. But they'll have something like that. And that they are throwing in regular human stories too, which you need, like the podcast kid pining after the Cocoa Girl, and she's pining after the food distributors, and it's like it works as a kid's show. Just like, this is ridiculous, but at the same time, it works for the target audience.
So no, I'm enjoying it. It's kind of, it's like, to me, it's like it's kind of slides in a sandwich between like Diary of a Future President and High School Musical, the series. It's kind of in that kind of zone for me. It was like, it's fine. It's, my wife did say it's too kiddish, so she's not watching any more of it. The tone is a little bit lower than I was expecting. It's probably on, I know it's funny because my mum wants to watch it, so that's kind of because she enjoyed the movies. But this is that kind of thing of, I think this series kind of got going, and then kind of there doesn't seem to be a lot of discussion. There's not a lot of talk about it. It's very much this might pick up more as there's more episodes available, and maybe when like Falcon drops and stuff, like where we've got that break. I think this is a great series for people to jumping into and getting on with it. I'm liking Bombay's character. I'm liking him. Kind of weird. Like, I don't, he's going to become the coach, but it's that thing. I actually would have preferred him just to stay as the grumpy man that didn't want to do it, because that would have been a bit more realistic. Like, he got burnt and he doesn't want to do it, and he might give them the odd little nugget, but generally he's just a grump and just wants their money.
Right. And I appreciate that in the third episode they did actually give like why he is such a grump too, and it wasn't just angry at that getting kicked off the Ducks coaching staff or something like that. No, there's an actual story, and he's like, he's bitter because some things were unfair. It wasn't just, this isn't my team anymore, quit.
It's funny because the way they met, because I'm obviously not really understanding US college rules. It kind of was like, oh, that kind of instantly reminded me of Safety, of what happened with Safety, of he looked after a kid but needed it, and it was against the rules. It's kind of weird from like that's just not stories you really hear of like over here, because it's not really I don't even think it would be an issue, because of course we don't really have that whole sport and education aren't connected here. Right. There's no scholarships to go to, that doesn't exist in this country, I don't think. Well, I've never heard of it. It's not a thing we have. So you go to university to do a course and a degree, and you take out a loan, and that's it. There is no kind of like, well, if you're good at soccer, there isn't any of that. So we don't have rules about all the rest of it. Every student's poor. That's just how the system has to be here. And I don't know, that was, for me, it was just like, oh, that's kind of like what happened with Safety. And that was my only knowledge of what he was talking about was because I'd seen Safety. Again, but that's this is sometimes where things that happen in these shows sometimes don't translate internationally because that doesn't exist elsewhere.
And it's also part of the reason why I do want more international content coming in. Not just American content going out to places that aren't America, but stuff coming into America, because there will be things in those shows and those documentaries where we as Americans will be looking at and going, I've never heard of this being an issue. This is something completely foreign to me. But that's how you learn about the world. That's how you find out about things. Speaking directly to the NCAA, which is the College Athletic Association here, there are some obscenely strict rules regarding gifts and money. Like the kids cannot take basically anything. Like you said, that was a major plot point in Safety. I can 100% believe that Gordon Bombay buys some random college kid some hockey tape, which is what you put on the stick.
Yeah.
And the NCAA just going, no doing that at all. And then, of course, without going into all the politics of it, these kids go on and play in the NHL or the MLB, the professional sports league, and just get showered with money, even the lower level players. And it's like, we are not preparing them at all for professional sports. Granted, the vast majority of college players will never play professionally, but that's not the point.
No. Right. Moving on from there, let's now move on to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we got 2 episodes. We'll kind of probably blend them all in because my memory of like what happened in what.
The important thing is Zemo dancing. That's all you need to.
We got an hour of him just like we got the Zemo cut now. they released the Zemo cut, which is the most absurd thing. I mean, so many people were so they've done it. It's like, how on earth do these people like? Sometimes you wonder what happens with social media of where something so stupid from a 2 seconds of a series can then create memes, and then they create. Somebody sat there and edited together and just repeated him dancing to the same music, and just like, and it's just so strange. I mean, Zemo, I'm going to be honest, he is so cool in this series. And there was a little bit of like episode 3 kind of reset him from what he was like in Civil War, but in episode 4 they kind of nudged back a little bit more to what he was like in Civil War. There was a kind of a shift back to him being, manipulating them all. Just really enjoying him in this series. And it's kind of, I'm not really too familiar with the Baron other than from like the Lego games, so I'm not really sort of. And it's very different seeing him now. In some ways, it kind of feels almost like a different character, but he is so cool in this. He's definitely stealing the show.
Well, he definitely stole the show in episode 4. Episode 3, I think, was a little bit of a different matter. But like you said, they kind of rebooted the character a little bit. Yeah. And we talked about this, but obviously the audio file got corrupted. So what we ended up talking about was like, you can't just randomly make him like a duke or a king. Yeah. I know it works with the comics. He is Baron Zemo. That's not just a name. It is his title. But it's like, that was not established in Age of Ultron at all. There was no hints at it. Why is royalty of this country in special forces? I mean, I know the princes over there in England that they did tours and such, but Prince Philip, nearly everyone has served at some point. So it's very much kind of interconnected. Like for me, all of our princes have been involved in it, so it kind of makes it doesn't even communicate that that's not a thing, but generally it's more, I think, more of a way of them hiding for a few years away. But I do think as well the problem is with being a baron is that then it gives them like Stark level where any problem can be paid away. Any problem that they need to deal with, we need a car to get from A to B, the car just turns up. We need to get from A to B, we've got a plane turns up. We need some guns. Anything you need suddenly then can be happening because he's got enough money to pay for it. It was definitely so nice, but that was so nice about Falcon at the beginning when he didn't have any money. And that was a big part of the problem with episode 3 was there's like, oh, well, we don't have problems anymore because we can go anywhere. They did tone it down a lot in episode 4. Other than that condo, apartment, whatever that they were staying at, it really didn't come into play. It's like, well, anybody can buy suites for kids. That's not that's not like a barren thing. It'll be interesting to see if they bring it more into focus in episodes 5 or 6. I kind of hope they don't. I preferred the Ultron version of the character where he was just a highly competent special forces guy who had some terrible things happen to him and he wanted revenge.
And I think that worked well. I mean, what I really liked about him in episode 4 was he was much more, he hates the whole thing of like supremacy and being better than everyone, and when he's faced with that thing of having super serum, he just flat out destroys it. He has got there is no desire in him in the slightest to take it. There is not even a fraction of a second. There's no hint of, you know, when he's talking with Sam about like taking it, and kind of you almost see that thing with him, you know, like Baron's like, okay, you've shown to me that you don't think you're, and you know, and he kind of got that just that, you know, they, I mean, we're going to see much more. I mean, how that Thunderbolt series is not going to be a thing after this is definitely happening.
Well,
but
they keep killing all the villains off, so there's no.
Turn the camera off.
In any event, oh, there it's back. Well, they keep killing off, and I'm muted apparently.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're fine. It's definitely, I think for me, I think the whole thing of he is such a great villain in the fact that he's got that sneaky side of him. He manipulates everybody around him. You know, the whole thing of him, you know, he's got the kids on things, but he's still turned them all against Sam and Bucky, just in that slight bit, even with the kids are going, here's some money and here's, but I don't trust them.
But that was a little bit weird because he did do that, like, don't trust him. And then the very next time you see the kids, like, yeah, bring my friends with me right here. It's like, but you told him not to trust the kids. Anyway, before I interrupted myself by disconnecting my camera, apparently, I wanted to make 2 points. One, I kept saying Age of Ultron, I meant Civil War.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. And two, you know, you have that whole thing with Zemo manipulating things, but he had that conversation with Sam that you mentioned where he's like, well, would you take the serum? And Sam's just, no, immediately not. Which I agree was like he's earning Zemo's and if not trust, at least respect. But then I loved how they paralleled that scene later where John Walker was like, not even taking the serum, but like, would you take the serum? And he's just like, yeah, of course I would take the serum. This isn't a question, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk now about John Walker. What a character he is, and I'm not kidding. The internet reaction to him has been, I mean, it's been so bad. The actor Wyatt Russell came off social media because people were just like really bad with it. Because it feels like, and there's a real big thing going on right now of comic book fans know what's happening because they know of US Agent. And they know of John Walker, whereas like MCU fans that don't know who he is, they don't know all of this. So they're coming in, and he's like this bad Captain America. I mean, he's definitely bad after the end of episode 4, because we're not used to. Everyone's like, oh, he's not a replacement for Chris, and it's like, yeah, but this is the whole point, is he can't be. And it's also setting up quite nicely that when Falcon takes over, everyone's going to be in a much nicer mood. Well, he's not as bad as Sam, you know, not as bad as Walker. But I mean, that whole thing, and you see it in episode 4. You know, episode 3 is about setting that thing of him not getting the respect he thinks he's earned. He's not getting. And I mean, that whole thing of him losing the fight to the Wakandans. I love that music when that kicked in, and we're getting a full like just. And that's that thing of him going, I just lost, and then I even got. And you can see that thing if he's fighting in a war with people that he's suddenly he's outgunned, and he doesn't know. And he's just that whole thing of the super serum is a way of him evening the score and being right. And I can see his point. I'm not gonna lie. But he's got a massive chip on his shoulder, and he's come in being a hero for the wrong reasons. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and we've seen the memes popping up over the week where people are pointing out, you know, that there's that whole line in the first Captain America movie, like I don't need a perfect soldier, I need a good person. And Steve Rogers was the good person, and Walker is the perfect soldier. And we're seeing why you wanted to go with the good person instead of the soldier. But I also do, like you said, I sympathize a bit with him too, where he has that realization. He gets beat up by the Dora Milaje, and he's like, they're not even superpowered, and they just whooped me. Like I am playing in a ball game that's like so far above my level, and he's only just beginning to grasp just how outmatched he is. So I can totally get from his perspective to be like, yeah, I'm taking the serum because I need to be able to even the field. And at the same time, you're just going, you're not Steve. Stop trying to be Steve.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, he's trying to fulfill the thing, and I think that it's like the disrespect he's getting as well is like it's play, you know, and he's traumatized by whatever happened in war, and it's a shame they didn't show him actually taking the vial instead of him suddenly then he just bends the steel and like now you know that kind of thing of, oh, he's taking it, he's now a super soldier. But in some ways I like that with within some of them killing off Battlestar to give him that. He just went nuts. He just, he lost his friend. And in a normal war situation, that would be what happens. But of course, he's Captain America. And that final scene with him by that fountain and everybody recording him and him just, that final scene with the shield just covered in blood is just, that was an iconic finish. That was like, I knew instantly when I went into our Facebook group and like all the pending posts are just that is the thing, that final shot with him just brutally just destroying him with that shield and him just standing there covered in blood. Essentially that is now him losing Captain America. That is the point where the US government probably is going to either disown him or Sam will be like, right, you ain't this anymore.
Right.
That's going to be the, and it was I never expected that ending to be like how they went, and I was shocked, but I loved it. This was such a great, that fourth episode was, because it's taken the time to get to it. They've told the story. They've had time so when something happens, it's much more meaningful because they spent the time getting there.
So I was expecting him to kill somebody. I figured that would be the tipping point where people go, nope, this is not Captain America. I know obviously the internet here in real life has already been like, no, this is not Captain America. But we got the impression there were people in the MCU who were like, yeah, I'm totally down with this guy being Captain America, and this will be that tipping point. I did not expect it to be that brutal. Now, obviously, they did not show the actual mauling, but the angles that they were using, and again, that shot you were talking about with just the shield just covered in what would normally be a heroic shot. It's a low angle shot with him like doing the look off into the distance kind of thing. Although it's more 1,000-yard stare rather than, the Steve Rogers heroic pose. But just having the blood on the shield, just like, oh, someone screwed up real bad. And in his mental state, he is not going to be putting that shield down by choice. He could get orders from the president himself and he'd still be like, no, this is my shield. I'm Captain America now.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because, and this is the thing of like, we know there's been a lot of this discussion about him, a lot of people thinking he's a villain and the fact that he's going to become a villain and he's going to be and it's like, he is a superhero. He is a jackass. He is annoying. He is, because I've been reading the latest season of US Agent, the comic book, and he's like that in the comic books. This is, he is like that. And people mistake him for Captain America because he kind of, wears a kind of a similar outfit. But I hope that that US Agent does come out of this. It might take him a little bit more, but I don't want them. I don't want them sacrificing John Walker. And I'm sure they're going to keep him around because he's. But yeah.
You were mentioning Thunderbolts earlier.
Yeah.
John Walker actually does have connections to the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Now, he's not who comic fans would initially associate with the Thunderbolts, but there was a run where he was basically the government liaison to the team. I try not to reference it too much, but you got the Suicide Squad movie from a couple of years ago. He would be the military character in there who's trying to keep everybody in line while on the mission. And just side note, I really hope the next Suicide Squad movie is much better than the last one. It looks much better.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yes, I am hoping that they go somewhere because the thing is, you got to look at it. He is a hero, and he is he's it's sort of saying what happened, and I think people are expecting him to be this bad guy because essentially that's what's always happened in superhero. The doppelganger, the guy that's trying to be somebody, turns into the villain. That's standard 101 kind of comic book movie. And of course, this character isn't like that. He's a little bit different. But no, it's just, I also love the fact, there's like they were showing that thing of Sam going and talking to Carly, just like one-on-one, no gear. Look, you're what you're doing isn't right. You're doing what it does make sense, but you're going about it in the wrong way. Can we just come to an agreement on like try and work it out? Of course, and he respects the fact that there's a funeral going on, but obviously she then thinks it's a trick and all the rest of it. But it's kind of weird with her character because I do find it very tricky because obviously Sam does reference the fact she's just a kid.
She is
and
not just a kid.
no, but it kind of, she is very. I don't know if I'm fully in on her being the main villain of the series. I'm still. I know they're going really sympathetic on her of why she's doing it and all the speeches and stuff, but I'm really just not. I don't know. It's like it just feels a bit odd.
I suspect she's not like the villain
Yeah,
of the series, but she might be the villain who Sam is eventually able to be like, your intentions are good, but your path is wrong.
yeah,
And he gets her to stand down. And that might be the moment where people are like, oh, this Sam is actually
yeah,
Captain America or should be Captain America. I think the real villain of the series is Power Broker, probably. But we'll come back to that one.
Well, the question is of who is the power broker, because I mean,
right, and well, there is an obvious choice that they've been playing up, but you're kind of getting into that territory where you're like, they're making it too obvious that this is the choice, and you're kind of going, yeah. So on the one hand, if it is who we think it is, I wouldn't be surprised, but I also would not be surprised. We're like, no, that was a red herring all along. It's really this character over here.
I mean, to be honest, I hadn't really put two and two together till you mentioned it last week of Sharon Carter being the power broker. She's always in the right place at the right time. She's extremely well connected. I mean, for someone that's got kicked out of the government, she's made a real name for herself. She's got satellites, she's got teams, she's got loads of money, so she's doing something.
And and it's important to note she does have a vested interest in getting the super serum for herself, because obviously Peggy Carter was heavily involved with that. She knew Cap, probably was in love with Cap. She would have a lot of reasons to want to get the serum.
But there's also been other little speculations, and I saw this one yesterday, of which might help connect up with She-Hulk, where it could be the leader. The leader could be involved in it.
And they did set up the leader at the end of Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
So that there's certainly a possibility. That would be an interesting callback, but I could see it.
I mean, they're bringing everything back in for the that was one. I mean, there's other, it could just be someone completely random and a brand new villain. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's very interesting to see how this is playing out. I think the funny thing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's so different to WandaVision, that whole kind of, there are some questions and all the rest, but we don't have that same level. It's very straight laced where it's going. I'm enjoying the whole thing. Bucky's kind of getting his time to shine. He's a little bit more than just just walking around moody. I mean, he does have to stare, but generally,
well, he got to cry this episode.
So I just really enjoyed.
That's one more emotion.
I mean, there's definitely kind of that whole thing of using locations and stuff and making this world bigger. Maripor, little nods to. I mean, people have been going nuts over X-Men acknowledgements of that was the bar that Wolverine loved.
Yeah. So I haven't watched any of the videos on it because I actually know most of the Easter eggs already. But that one scene in episode 3 when they first get to Madripoor is loaded with Easter eggs. You can find all sorts of YouTube videos breaking it down completely. I personally am not reading too much into it. I think they just use Madripoor because it's a cool location and it is something they want to bring into the MCU, but it is not a backdoor for Wolverine showing up, guys. Please stop that one.
I think the trouble is, WandaVision set up this whole tone of being able to, everything was possible. WandaVision made this way of anything was possible. They can do anything they want. They are bringing in the Fantastic Four. They're bringing in, we had all the, so much speculation with WandaVision. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I can see that there's a little bit of incentive to kind of maybe create content that isn't there to try and drum up that same kind of level of interest. And it's, for me, I'm just this is and in some ways the Marvel fandom has started to go, whoa, hold on here a minute. You're racing ahead. This series is a little bit less. It's not like that. They are not going to introduce the X-Men in a Disney Plus series halfway through. This is no, they're going to keep it for something big.
And also, it wouldn't make sense in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You could maybe argue Wolverine because he would have had a history with Winter Soldier potentially.
Yeah,
but it's no, you're not going to go with this basically Black Ops superhero story, and all of a sudden Cyclops is going to be dropping down in blue spandex, and Jean Grey is going to have her, her pink telepath stuff coming out. Maybe you do Psylocke, but even then, it's like, why?
It's not.
No, this is not this is not the series for that.
I mean, a host setting up like Maripol, and also because are they in Latveria or Latvia?
They're actually in Latvia. They're in Riga, where I actually was there in 2019, and pretty sure some of those shots were like in the Latvian palace, which was kind of cool. If not the palace, then at least something that looks a lot like it.
Because Doctor Doom's from Latvia, isn't it?
Doctor Doom is Latveria, which is a fictional country.
Yeah. So this is where I was getting a bit confused of like going, are they bringing in Doctor Doom and all that? It's like, just the whole kind of thing of just like how it's all. And again, this is where, in some ways, a little bit of comic book knowledge can be dangerous. But it's like making, but it is kind of like just expanding the universe. And what I really enjoy, I think bringing in elements of Black Panther, kind of sets us up. Now we're going to have obviously them chasing down Zemo as well. I just thought as a whole, I think the fourth episode was much better than the third episode. We're now into I would almost, next week is the penultimate episode. So this is when things have got to, now we've got like Walker's now set. There's something's wrong with him. Sam and Bucky have now got to deal with not only Walker, but also Carly and all the rest of them. In some ways, it's a little bit like, I'm glad they kind of got rid of some of the super soldier serum because it was getting that thing of like, these random people that have got super serum and then just beating them up and throwing them against the wall. Like, it's kind of a waste of we could use this to power a lot more useful than the random Thug 1 and random Thug 2.
Yeah, no, obviously having some of the serum left over was really just a plot device so that John could have it. And so Zemo could have his moment of being like, no, this is my conviction. I am destroying the serum, and then actually destroying the serum. He just missed one. And then, of course, you need to have somebody who could actually feasibly stand up to Winter Soldier and Falcon. And just, sure, you could do it with like a super Black Ops team like Zemo would have had, but it makes more sense. And it thematically makes sense with the show to have some people using the serum in ways that Sam and Bucky would not agree with.
Now, the question is really now is like, because Zemo, I thought, are we going to see him again or is he gone? That's the
kind of thing. No, he's coming back.
Because the thing is now is like, he's not really in a position where he can do anything unless he's going. He might come back and help Sam. I mean, that might be help them in some way. I mean, that's where it kind of, because he wants to get rid of the Flag Smashers as well. But I don't know. It's just but he's also going to be on the run from Wakanda. So I mean, if I was him, I'd just leg it. I wouldn't be hanging around.
Yeah, but as we just established, he has conviction. He has this single-minded purpose, and that What was that?
But he has his own moral compass.
Oh yeah. Which revolves around there being no super soldiers, and so the Flag Smashers are super soldiers. John Walker is now a super soldier, though we're not sure if Zemo knows that yet. Well, okay, he's going to know once he sees the video. I think that's pretty obvious. But yeah, he has the single-minded obsession of getting rid of. He's not going to care that Wakanda's after him. He's going to view them as a nuisance, getting in the way of his true goal. It's such a fascinating series. I'm really enjoying it. I know I kind of, in some ways, I still think it would have benefited from having a little bit of a break between this and WandaVision. I still think that had I been a month, maybe might have been the help. Just I think going back to back into it, but you can feel it starting to build up steam with momentum now. People are getting more into it because now we're like 4 episodes in. Same thing that happened with WandaVision, where I think it's like we're getting into the good bit now. We're into that like the final part of the movie. It's the double-edged sword of being a TV show rather than a movie. You've got more time to explore the story, more time to set up the story, more time to, look at the characters and go, well, this is Wanda, this is Vision. These are things you did not know about them because their screen time in the movies was like 2 minutes. Winter Soldier and Falcon being the same. But the downside to that is now you're spending the entire first episode just setting up the plot and talking about these characters and not really getting that forward action. Because once you got to episode 4 or 5 of it, WandaVision, things really started to pick up, and you can already see episode 4 was all right, we're moving to the conclusion episode. Episode 5, based on what they set up on the end here, could be really action packed, and then of course 6 will be the finale. So
just a fantastic series, loving it. Again, we've still got 2 more weeks of great Marvel goodness, and then we're going to be then we've got a whole host of other shows. But lots of stuff to look forward to. Keep an eye out on the website and the YouTube channel this week. We've got some interesting videos going up, which I can't say till Monday, but definitely keep an eye out. On that note, guys, thank you very much for checking out this episode. Remember, you can go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can like, follow, and subscribe. Big thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. It helps keep everything going. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Later.